March Madness. I think it's the best postseason in sports. I think in no particular order, besides March Madness at 1, it's March Madness, NFL playoffs, NBA playoffs, tennis, 50 other things, and then the college football playoff. My question is, how did the NCAA get the college football playoff so wrong when you already have this amazing, perfect, awesome organism? How is it so different and so much more visually corrupt than March Madness? Explain
I
that
actually have a coherent answer to that.
It's actually an eviction notice. You're getting kicked out, Blue. Viewers, for those that don't see what goes on in our pre-recording, my favorite bit is Evan will jump on the Zoom or jump on the call or whatever, and he'll say, yo, and I'll start talking like this. And then he will basically say, well, for a while it was, you're muted, I can't hear you. And I'll go, and I'm kind of like trying to fumble around like,
oh my
I do
God.
the whole thing. And then ultimately I go, gotcha.
I've been catching on recently.
Yeah, he's been smart. And now my whole headphone's all screwed up. All right. Well, that was a really long-winded transition into what we are going to do, and Evan knows it. We're going to play our voicemails as advertised. You can always call and leave a voicemail. Call the Wonder Fan Show, 424-299-1235. That's 424-299-1235. If you've ever been wronged by a sports team, if you've been upset or had emotional harm done to you by a team, league, or anything you need to let your heart out, we are an ear to listen. Of course, we're not actually listening. It's a voicemail, but we'll just play the best responses on this show.
I'm praying to God we had a Philly fan call.
Okay, so we actually did have someone from Berwick, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
I don't know Pennsylvania at all. Is Berwick near Philly?
I don't know. Have you listened to these yet?
I listened to my favorite one. I just all corded up here. My favorite one is there's a Notre Dame fan. Someone left a someone sounded old and weathered, and they left something about Notre Dame. It's worth playing. I'm gonna fire it up for you here.
All right, we have so Berwick, Pennsylvania is 2 hours and 8 minutes from Philly, so not bad.
Okay, so that'll be second. This one is from Novato, California. So this is a Notre Dame fan living kind of in Northern California.
Also
Okay.
a Dodgers and a Yankees and a Lakers fan too, and Cowboys.
I guess, yeah. In enemy territory at that point. All right, let's play this one.
Hello, my name is Ruth. I don't usually call into radio shows, but I'm really fucking pissed about the Notre Dame not making the playoff. And I will personally march into the college football committee office and kick down the door with...
Oh.
I'm about too old for this fucking shit. And I'm tired. I'm fucking tired of getting fucked. We got fucked.
Hey, there's wait.
I need to get in the bath.
That's fully a 25-year-old man.
I really hope so. Because if that person...
It certainly is. There's no way.
Could you imagine if there is someone that is that disheveled and is so distraught about Notre Dame getting snubbed that they really do just got to take a bath and sweat it out?
Yeah, I guess so. Or you're old, you know how to call a number you saw on an Instagram's post.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the strategy though. Is like that's how we get that target audience. Is they're used to seeing a number on their screen, calling right away.
Cash for
That's
gold.
exactly. So I wouldn't put it past him. He did sound like he was doing a little bit of a con job, but God, for his sake, I hope so. I really hope that we didn't just get a glimpse into that Notre Dame fan's sad life. Let's play another one. This is from Berwick, Pennsylvania. You said it's 2 hours away from Philly?
2 hours, 8 minutes. Yep.
Okay, that's still within the cusp. I'm 5.5 hours away from San Francisco. I'm still a Niners fan, so I think it counts. Here we go.
I was just calling to talk about the Warriors. My favorite NBA team, the Warriors.
The Warriors.
We're being absolutely ridiculed this year after winning a championship 4 years ago.
Huh.
Steph's always hurt. Jimmy can't come up in clutch. Our best player right now is Pat Spencer, a lacrosse player. Jonathan Kuminga, we signed him. The whole big deal. Doesn't even play in a win, in a blowout win.
Right.
I don't know what's going on with these Warriors. They're about to get the record broken by the Thunder, and it's just poverty at this point.
Poverty. What about that? Yeah. So
He
I
was talking like the Joker.
he was, and also, God bless him. Warriors fan in Berwick, Pennsylvania. Is that either the most obvious bandwagon, or is that like some? No, my dad's from Oakland. I've been a Warriors. No, it's a bandwagon.
That you saw that a lot with the Warriors and the Chiefs. Same roughly time period.
Oh,
Was where
don't
all these
do
people
this.
Started to be
Come on.
bandwagoners.
Come on,
Just
don't
like,
do
just
this.
like the Henry Markens of the world, who just hopped onto the Warriors
Oh,
bandwagon. Haven't been
and
there
then
since-
and then I hopped on. Let me guess. I hopped on Indiana this year too.
Yep,
Is that
yep,
what?
you
Yeah.
did. And you hopped on the Niners a couple years ago
Oh.
in the Super Bowl, and the Giants when they had Tim Lincecum.
You know what's great about that is there are receipts of sadness. You could see exactly when my credit card bill spiked for BetterHelp, right? Or like when
Not
it's
sponsored, by the
like not sponsored, by the way. I was a paying customer until things got good, again. But I guess there is an influx of Steph Curry fans. I guess he does have that global reach, but Berwick, Pennsylvania, that's deep. I mean, you have the Sixers if you wanted. You could go as far northeast and grab any team from New York, Boston. You could go south. You could claim Miami. You could claim Charlotte.
Cavs are right there too.
Cavs, yeah. You could go. What? That's just a 4-hour drive. Cleveland,
Even Detroit,
right?
not that far away.
Warriors. So that's a bandwagon. You think?
Most likely. I'm gonna say 84% bandwagon percentage.
Okay.
This is where I'll give him props. He's sticking with him,
He knew everything too. I mean, he
knew
talked
everything.
like I talked.
and he's sticking with that. He's a fan of the Warriors, even though things aren't going the best at the moment.
He called us a poverty franchise. I feel like that can't be. You just built a new stadium. You've won 4 championships in 10 years. That's not poverty. It's just a nap right now.
Poverty.
He actually, that does sound like a bandwagon. His expectation, what am I doing?
Every year.
Every year. That's what a bandwagon does. When the second that the green grass gets a little yellow, that needs just a little water, the drought's just a little unanticipated, gone. So that's why he's calling us poverty. Poverty, he doesn't know poverty. Poverty is New Orleans Pelicans, right? Poverty is giving away tickets. Poverty is, do we move a team to Vegas to save the franchise? Or do we take a gamble that will get generational talent in the lottery? That's poverty.
Yeah. Or
that would be the New York Jets.
Yep.
Which are
That's poverty.
That's poverty. I don't want to say the joke I had lined up because I think, just for your sake, what good does it do? Because I laugh, you laugh, then you close your computer, you sit there, you think about it, then you get closer to BetterHelp, You
I
cry.
Yeah.
And your wife comes in and says, Evan, what's the matter? Again, what's wrong? And he goes, nothing, dear. It's just the same. It's just my life. And then she thinks, is it me? You go, no, sweetheart, no. It's my team. And then she says, well, surely you should leave that awful thing if it sucks. Then you go, well, I can't leave.
Can't do it. It's just never-ending suffering. I have a ball sign from Joe Namath here. And
Who
I
cares?
put all my faith. Exactly.
Who cares?
Who cares? What does it mean? It gives me no joy. Don't get me started. That was just,
Who cares? Who cares?
we're in shambles, and we're gonna get like the 7th overall draft pick. Who the fuck are we gonna take? Who the fuck are we gonna take?
I know exactly who you're gonna get. who you're gonna get. Yeah. Yes.
Nope.
Get ready to wear Hoosier red, pal. The future.
There's no way he
New
lasts
York,
that long.
The future of New York is
There's
Fernando.
No way. There's no he. I will say, if there's anyone who can handle the New York press, I feel like it's him, because he is just like an
A
oddity.
robot. Yeah.
Like he can just handle anything.
Dude, he can handle being interrogated by a guard at Guantanamo Bay.
And he'd still do it with a smile on his face.
And he'd still thank God.
Yeah. And he'd just go. And he'd just start rattling stuff off. That
He's
doesn't
a
even really make
freak.
that much sense. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm so sorry, and I'm only apologizing because I know a great college quarterback when I see one. He is a great college quarterback, but dude, that screams New York Jets need to clean up their act. Who better to lead this clean campaign than Mr. Clean himself, Fernando Mendoza, with the 2nd pick in the 2026 NFL Draft. Get ready to wear Hoosier red, pal.
I don't think we'll be that lucky to get that. We're gonna ruin it. Just trust the process. This is what happens every single year. It's either we do get one of the good first 3 draft picks, and then we fuck it up, or in the late games of the season, like maybe the last 4 weeks, we win like 2 meaningless games and then get the 8th overall draft pick. So
I think you guys are just on track to get Dante Moore. So you better watch those Duckies, because that is your quarterback. on that, before you say something you can't take back, we are going to transition into an amazing guest that we have today, folks. We had a great conversation with them. Brett Friedlander, a mind that we need more access to. This guy's been covering Saturday Down South for decades. Of course, that means all things college football, college basketball in the Southeast U.S., which we know very little about. But he also has access to more contemporary news in the world of college basketball with Hoops HQ. He's a contributor to Seth Davis's new Hoop HQ platform. The guy knows his stuff. He made it clear he is semi-retired because he can't stay out of the game. So without further ado, here is the fantastic interview with Brett Friedlander right now. And we're back. Another fabulous episode of the Wonder Fan Show. Today we have an awesome guest who has a lot more wisdom than we do, Evan. It's not even close. Not because he's older. More 8-year-olds. Some 8-year-olds have more wisdom than we do, but this guy is just confirmed to have more wisdom because of how many years he's covered the sport.
Certified ball knower. Certified
ball knower. We are joined by Brett Friedlander. Brett Friedlander is a semi-retired award-winning columnist from Saturday Down South, and so he knows something about college football. That's, of course, their religion down there. He's currently involved with Basketball HQ. Is that right? With College Hoops HQ with Seth Davis.
Correct.
So we have a bunch of college football to talk about, and we also have some college hoops to get to at the end, because I mean it's never too early to start thinking about March. Never. March is always around the corner. That's the way I see it. But Brett, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Anytime.
So I mean, we had a pretty good conversation before recording about Notre Dame. Let's just start right there. It could not be more of a controversial debate between Evan and myself right now, because I thought here's a guy, Evan, who I thought was always in lockstep with me. In terms of we share the same brain on most things. He thinks Notre Dame got snubbed and it was inappropriate. Where do you stand on this?
Time out. Before we get into this, I know I'm going to be outnumbered because we have an ACC guy in here, and you are the Miami guy. I'm just going to say, the biggest problem with all of this is Alabama. Take Alabama out of the equation. The 3 losses, both teams are in, but head to head in week 2 shouldn't matter as much.
God damn it.
Evan, I was going to side with you until just now.
Yeah.
Because I do think that Notre Dame got screwed.
Yeah.
Big time. Because, listen, everybody got knocked down for losing a conference championship game. BYU got knocked down and out. Virginia got knocked down and out. Alabama stayed right there. And so, yes, Notre Dame got screwed. However, head-to-head still does matter. It doesn't matter when it was. And by the way, it was a 3-point game, but if you go back and watch it, it was not a 3-point game. Notre Dame got some window dressing at the end and made it look good. But here's the deal, all right? Those 2 teams should have been in, and Alabama should be the ones on the sideline. But as you well know, brand names mean something. And, if anything... if history is any guide, and we go back just 2 years to when Florida State got bumped, Alabama the rules are different for Alabama.
Yeah,
it
certainly seems that way. But I'm not complaining, by the way. As a proud Indiana Hoosier, I've never been a Notre Dame guy. I'm a never Notre Dame guy. And the last year was just one more reason to absolutely appall the Fighting Irish. And so I'm emotionally fine by all of this.
Hey, Henry, as an Indiana guy, did you ever think that you would live to see the day when the Hoosiers are playing in a national championship favorite role in football before basketball?
No. And I'm glad you brought this up too, because you got to live through the time where Indiana basketball was king, where it didn't matter what happened the other 9 months of the year. There were 3 guaranteed months of Indiana reign over the rest of the country, and it didn't matter what else happened. In fact, the whole state economy of Indiana was solely based on how well Coach Knight had those boys ready for March. That was the entire economy. That was the economic flow of the entire Indiana Hoosier state. And right now, I'm so serious. I don't give a flying shit about Indiana basketball at this moment. And this is never, and we have a good team. We have a fantastic team, and I'm sure the boys are going to do just so many good things to break my heart come March. But in the best way possible. I never thought this was possible. I never thought that, obviously, like, being bowl eligible is awesome. Being bowl eligible is something that was always like an achievement, because in the Big Ten, at least in the Big Ten East, how it used to be, we were always pitted against Ohio State, Michigan State, Penn State. Like, we always got kind of screwed as far as who we played every year. Now they sort of dissolved the Big Ten East, Big Ten West, and you just kind of play, because it's more than 10 teams in the Big Ten, you just kind of play everybody over the course of 4 years. And I never thought we'd ever win the Big Ten as long as teams like Ohio State, Michigan, and Penn State were around, let alone I never thought we'd ever be in a Rose Bowl game in my backyard on New Year's Day. Here we are.
Yep. The success of the Hoosiers in football the last 2 years is the advertisement for it is not that important to win the press conference. Kurt Cignetti did not make everybody jump up and down and start having celebrations, right? He came from James freaking Madison, right? Yep. I mean, think about this. LSU brings in Brian Kelly. Yay, fake Cajun accent. We're going to win national championship. And they ran him out of town in a rail. And guess what? 3 years from now, they're going to be doing the same thing to Lane Kiffin, because that's just the way it is, because they're more interested in winning the press conference. Indiana, didn't make a splash, but look where they are. And it's all about finding the right fit, the right guy. And, I look at Georgia Tech in the ACC with Brent Key. He's the same way. I mean, it's a guy that, knows the lay of the land, knows how to get it done, can use the resources that he has, and the results speak for themselves.
You said something particularly interesting that Evan and I can both agree on. You think Lane Kiffin has a relatively short shelf life at LSU coming up.
Yes, because he's one of these guys who comes in, makes an immediate splash because, he fires everybody up, and he's got an electric personality. Kids are they gravitate to him. But after 2 or 3 years, his act starts to wear thin. He starts pissing people off, and it's time to move on because you've worn out your welcome. And he's not the only one that's like that, but he's a classic example of it. And I will be shocked if it works out, because look at his history. He only stays 3 or 4 years before he either leaves before the posse catches up with him, or, as in the case with Southern Cal, he gets fired on the tarmac.
This is exactly what I said when the first rumors started of him going to LSU. It was like, why would he leave Ole Miss, where he has them by the balls, where he gets to do whatever he wants? He has
and
the
he can
longest
win a
leash.
national championship this year.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
We just had a conversation 2 weeks ago with another guy, and he explained very well that LSU just has more resources and more prestige and stuff, and that part does make sense. But Lane is just, if he doesn't win a national championship in 4 years, he's gone.
Yep. And he's in the SEC. It's not that easy. It's not that easy anyway, but it's particularly hard when you have to jump all those. We discussed this before. I mean, Texas and Oklahoma. Hey, we're going to the SEC. This is great. Well, they were dominant in the Big 12, but guess what? They're just a couple of more faces in the crowd in the SEC, and somebody's got to lose those games, right? They're playing each other. Somebody's going to lose them, and it's not that easy. It's not that easy.
Which leads me to my next point that Henry's going to talk about right now is the SEC dominance. I am known as the in-house SEC defender. Henry's known as the in-house SEC guy.
Attacker.
Attacker. Does that not stand more for the SEC that Oklahoma and Texas A&M, they're joining the SEC? Someone's got to lose those games. Doesn't that mean it's more competitive?
Yes, but it also kind of means that maybe they were propped up a little bit by being in a conference that wasn't as competitive. So there's that. Listen, I think that the top of the SEC is elite. Okay, as we spoke before, Georgia is the gold standard of college football right now. Kirby Smart is, now that Saban is gone, Kirby Smart is the guy, and they're the team to beat regardless of where they're seated. They're the team to beat in this thing right now. But again, I think some of the middle of the SEC that gets, so much credit, a lot of it is because they get propped up by rankings of, say, Vanderbilt and Missouri and Oklahoma and some of the schools that if you put them in a different conference, maybe they wouldn't get quite as much respect as they are now because they are in the SEC. So I think it's a
you're
little of both.
saying, correct me if I'm wrong, Brett, but you're saying it really just does not mean more in the SEC.
Well, it depends on who you're talking to.
I'm talking to you.
Yeah.
And you're preaching to the choir, because from everything you just said, it sounds like there's 3 great teams. And one team, you got Georgia, you got Alabama, and Ole Miss.
Right now.
And
it fluctuates.
Conditionally.
I mean, last year it was Tennessee. I mean, it's
sure.
But
and then everybody else. So you got three good teams, so it's Georgia's the gold standard, Alabama because of the brand, and then one other team, and then everybody else kind of just they're in the same building as them. So it's we're neighbors.
Yeah, there are 3 tiers. There's that next tier that that is pretty darn good, and if you put them in a different conference, might dominate. And then there's the Mississippi State, my alma mater, South Carolina. Florida, the bottom feeders that, are bottom feeders.
So you think Texas, sorry, Evan, it was jumping off my tongue. You think Texas not get screwed. Like Texas, obviously playing Ohio State at the beginning of the year, we'll call that's a quality loss if there is such a thing. But
they lost to
Texas
Florida.
losing to Florida, unacceptable, right?
Yeah. And by the way, Texas A&M is up in that, they're highly seeded, but look at who they played in the SEC. Their schedule was very deceptive. And the one team that they played that was in the middle tier, Texas.
South Carolina.
And South Carolina, listen, believe me, that was not a fun day in my house.
They should not have won that game.
My wife gets really into it. In fact, our dog knows when the Gamecocks are playing because she goes and hides. But but you're right. They should not have won that game. But I put Texas A&M in that middle tier. I put Texas in that middle tier. Vanderbilt, yeah.
It does not mean more.
It does not mean more. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
It does to them, and it's a great slogan.
Yeah. Of course it does. Yeah.
There's a Twitter handle.
More to them.
There's a Twitter handle an X handle that deals with ACC football, and it just means less. That's
yes. That's exactly what I was getting at this whole show. Thank you. That's the title sequence right there. It does not mean more. Confirmed.
Well, it does to them.
It does to them, but not this year, because the ACC was horrid this year. I mean, Miami obviously, clear winner in that conference, but having Duke and Virginia in the conference championship is.
And
beyond.
Evan, this is the biggest problem I have with the ACC is not necessarily the what's going on the field, because what's going on the field is not great. And by the way, I thought SMU was a pretty good team, but but
that's a new ACC. I'm sure you don't even count them yet. Right.
ACC cannot get out of its own way because of the stupidity of the leadership of that conference and the way they run things. If they would have had a simple tie-breaking procedure that all they had to do was say, in the case of a multiple team tie, we will go with the highest ranked teams in the college football playoff rankings. And you would have gotten Virginia against Miami.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Problem solved.
Instead of a 7-5 Duke team.
Correct.
who obviously they did end up winning and ruining Virginia's season, but
and you can see it coming a mile away, by the way, because and there's also a hashtag #GoACC, which is very sarcastic because GoACC is any kind of thing that they do to hurt themselves or to shoot themselves in the foot. And it was a GoACC moment that Duke was playing in, and you knew just because that's the way things work that Duke was going to win that game and throw everything out into chaos.
Really? Wow. So I guess I didn't know. I mean, you could see how chaotic it was, but I didn't know that was. I guess you could have prevented that just with a little bit more structure. So this whole thing falls onto ACC leadership.
Correct. The tie-breaking procedure that led Duke to get into that championship game, and I'm going to get to something else about Virginia in a second too.
Yeah.
Is that it was the cumulative record of the conference teams that they beat. Okay. And Duke had one. Their opponents had one more win than Miami's opponents, which got Duke in. Okay, so that's okay. There you go. Now here's the thing about
Miami
Virginia.
Lost 2 conference games.
Virginia went 7-1 in the ACC. However, Virginia lost 2 ACC games because in week 2 they played NC State in a non-conference game and lost to NC State. So when you think about it, they had 2 ACC losses too, which would have thrown them out because then using that tiebreaker, it would have been SMU against Miami. So there you go.
But it was deemed non-conference.
Correct.
Therefore, this
because both teams had
loophole.
Both teams had non-conference opponents buy out of their game back in last spring, and they had to find a game. And they were having trouble finding a game. So basically they said, well, let's do this. Let's just play each other in the non-conference game. And just that way we can fill our schedules out. Hey, great, saving travel, everything. So this year they played in Raleigh. Next year they were going to do the same thing. And they were going to play in Charlottesville. but they got an offer to play in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. So it's going to be the opening game next year in Rio, NC State versus Virginia. That doesn't count in the ACC standings. Go ACC.
Yep.
Go ACC. That's unreal. So here we are. We got SEC where it just means more. And then ACC, it just means nothing, even when they play each other.
Exactly.
That's unbelievable.
Bingo has been called.
In another country. Oh, my. Let's travel to Brazil to have a non-conference, damn near an exhibition game at this
Pretty
point.
much. Yeah.
That's the ACC. Wow.
They can't get out of their own way.
Okay. On this same coin, because I'm a Bay Area guy. I grew up in the San Francisco Bay Area. My parents are both Cal Bears. And so you can imagine seeing Cal with the ACC logo on the field. It's not an optic I'm used to, right? I mean, it just makes no sense.
Well, it doesn't stand for Atlantic Coast Conference anymore. It stands for All Coast Conference.
Yeah, All Coast Conferences, I guess, which, by the way, it doesn't have the worst ring to it. It's just how you got there. It just seems so – it's almost like Brock Purdy falling into your lap with Mr. Irrelevant, the last pick. It's like, wow, this worked out, but this is not the plan. No. How many more years will Cal and Stanford be in the ACC? Is this sustainable, or is this experiment? Like, do you have any inside scoop if this is even doing well, or are we looking at a dead man walking conference that's going to realign again?
I don't have any inside scoop, but my gut feeling is that it's not going to look the same 5 years from now as it does right now. But sure. I think that is the case for all of college sports. I don't think that this is sustainable to have 18, 20-team conferences. I think what you're going to see is you're going to see football eventually break off and have an NFL style, whatever it is, 48 teams, 64 teams, whatever it is, and have divisions. And that way the playoff will be easier to you won't have a committee, basically win your division, and maybe then there'll be wild cards, just like the NFL. And then the NCAA can do what it wants with basketball and baseball and soccer and all the other sports, and maybe go back to more geographically sane conferences. But I think that eventually we are going to see a total restructure of college sports, and we won't see conferences as we know them now, I think.
It needs a very big restructuring. Yeah, there's no reason to have this all ACC stuff and the Big 12 stuff with BYU winning a conference, being punished for losing a conference championship game. Like, none of it makes any sense. You need like 10-team conferences, no matter how many there are. Just
the stupidity of it is summed up in the fact that it's the Big 10 and the Big 12, but how many teams do each of those teams have? Conferences have.
I mean. The Pac-12 has two.
No, that's such a good point, though. Like, we look at the Big Ten. Like, when you say the Big Ten, you know exactly which set of teams we're talking about. It's more than 10. And when you say the Big 12, you know that's another grouping of teams, probably not as good, doesn't get the same prestige, definitely doesn't have as much money. But we know that's also a whole nother collection, more than 12. I wonder if you say these are the Big 20 and the Big 15 or the Big 19, if there's still something odd about the way that the number looks. Like, you could call it the Big 19, and it's like, oh, yeah, that's Texas Tech, that's BYU, that's Arizona, because 19 isn't quite 20, 20 prestige, nice. It's even number. That makes sense. It adds up.
But,
that's just my brain.
If you break it up the way I think it's going to happen, and you have these, conferences or divisions or whatever, you could still call a Big 10, Big 12, ACC, SEC, Pac-12. You can still do it, but we won't have 20, 18, 16 teams.
Well, we're just so far away from, I guess at this point, like, the brands and the logos of the conferences themselves, like, the numbers mean nothing. Like, Pac-12, means nothing to me. There's not 12 teams. There's two. The idea of the Pac-12 is coming back, but there's two teams in the Pac-12.
And it's a G5 conference. Come on.
Yeah. And, like, I guess, like, conferences like Sun Belt, Mountain West, Missouri Valley. Like, they were smart. They planned ahead because there's no number you could cap. It's an infinite concept. As long as the Missouri Valley lives and breathes, you could fit as many. You could say Berkeley's in the Missouri Valley if you squint and tilt your head, right? The Southeastern Conference, I guess everything's southeastern from China, like it's not exactly everything is. I mean, I give them a bad rap. The SEC, I really do go after them, but they were smart and they really did think ahead because you can't cap them at 10, like the Big Ten. I mean, if you call ourselves the Big Midwest, then we get the leg up again. But until then, I guess it does mean more brains in the SEC right now.
Yeah,
that's it.
There you go.
Yeah, sure. Or back whenever it was formed.
Yeah,
of 150 years ago.
Back when Tulane and Georgia Tech were in it, right?
Yeah.
I do have one good transition. Obviously, I want to tap into your college basketball mind. And WonderFan, this is a good time for a plug. WonderFan, the Sports Fan Rewards app. Obviously, the WonderFan show is the flagship show of the WonderFan app. You can earn rewards just for watching college basketball on your TV or by going to games. The college basketball tournament, March Madness, probably we'll say I'm biased because I've grown up living in Indiana, but I think it's the best postseason in sports. I think in no particular order, besides March Madness at 1, it's March Madness, NFL playoffs, NBA playoffs, tennis, 50 other things, and then the college football playoff. And my question is, how did the NCAA get the college football playoff so wrong when you already have this amazing, perfect, awesome organism that happens just 3 or 4 months later in March with March Madness? How you got two committees run by effectively the same organization, unless college football is now run by Saudi Arabia.
It's run by an organization that goes by 4 letters, by the way.
Okay, so I guess we're not that far off. How if there are 2 committees,
and it's not NCAA, by the way.
Yeah, I got that vibe. How is it so? How is it so different and so much more visually corrupt than March Madness? Explain. I
actually have a coherent answer to that question.
Oh,
it's because the bowl system was in place long before the NCAA tournament in basketball was ever thought about and executed. And so you had all these, the politics of it. You had, the Rose Bowl, you had the Sugar Bowl, you had the tradition of it. And obviously, the powers that be, got involved in it. You chose a national champion by a poll rather than on the field. And so it kind of evolved, which is why it's taken so long, because we're going against tradition. I mean, it's not just sports. You take any tradition and you want to trash it. People just want to cling to it. And so it's just taken this long to kind of move forward and move past it and update it. And I just think that, that there are still people who cling to that whole tradition of, the Rose Bowl, the granddaddy of them all, and I don't know why the thought process of the 2 committees is so different. Maybe because in basketball there's more margin for error because there's a lot more teams that get in. But I think that the resistance of getting this national championship tournament in football to where it needs to be comes down to the fact that this is the way things have always been done, and change always comes slowly. That's best I can do.
Interesting. So, in a way, you're saying that there's still this there's this reluctance to improve because it's been a certain way forever.
Yes.
And so making tiny little changes is just damn near impossible at this point. They're just better off.
Henry,
Bama,
we're not talking about tiny little changes here. If they go to 16 or to 24 teams, and listen, Notre Dame not playing in this bowl game, while I think that is the right move, because I would rather see somebody who wants to be there and actually play a good game rather than somebody showing up like Florida State did 2 years ago and getting whacked because all their good players opted out. But this is going to end the bowl system as we know it. I mean, there might still be some bowls out there, But, listen, it's not necessarily a reward for a great season to go 6-6 and get a bowl game. But I mean, we love watching these from the week before Christmas all the way through New Year's. This is what we always do. But if this tournament gets any bigger and teams who don't get into the playoff continue to opt out and start doing it more, that's going to be the end of the bowl system. And I think that is a huge change. And I think that is the biggest resistance to this, is that we see, the way we have always done it. We've seen all those great games that we watch, and some of them are great games, but you know what? It's still fun to watch them. Right. We see that going away, and I think people are clinging to that. Yeah.
I saw that somewhere Notre Dame not playing in this Pop-Tarts Bowl will cost ESPN about $50 million.
Yep.
Just because of their
and listen, I think that went into Notre Dame's thought process, to be honest with you, because they're an NBC team. And oh, by the way, the two teams that did get into the playoff, are under contract with ESPN with their conferences. So
right,
there's that.
And I guess in college basketball, I could tell you like 3 or 4 different networks that kind of put on March Madness, whether it's maybe they changed it up from, it was CBS, TBS, TNT, True TV.
Yep.
I don't think it really mattered who covered conferences before that.
Correct.
Because at the end of the day, everyone is just trying to get into March Madness. Yeah. I just, as a avid college basketball lover, and I guess someone who is appreciative of college football, I like college football as the next guy. I just much prefer the NFL. I can't for the life of me figure out why in 2 sports run by the same organization, effectively, unless I'm wrong, how come you got one committee that is damn near perfect? Even when your team gets snubbed, you still feel like, okay, well, at the end of the day, the committee saw something. It wasn't a money thing. It wasn't we're corrupt to this. It was just the committee chose this. Whereas in college football, all you can do is blame the committee for something.
Here's another thing, too. In college basketball, every Division I conference champion automatically goes into the bracket. Okay?
Yeah.
In college football, that's not the case, because
you
just don't have as many teams. And so, you don't really have as many arguments at the top. And the other thing, too, is in college basketball, I think the disparity between the haves and the have-nots is nowhere near as big, okay? So you go to the first round of the NCAA tournament, and it is not improbable for a 15 seed to knock out a 2. And heck, we've had 2 1 seeds get beat by 16s.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
That is totally implausible in football. You're not going to see Tulane. I mean, they've already gotten beat by 35 by Ole Miss. This is going to be a total, absolute waste of time, this game. And, James Madison going to Oregon is going to be even worse. To be honest with you, Duke would have put up, I think, a better fight against Oregon than James Madison is going to. But again, even that game shouldn't be played. So I think that the disparity between the haves and the have-nots in basketball is a lot smaller than it is in football. And so that kind of makes the decisions more controversial, because, okay, we're letting these teams in, but take Notre Dame. Would Notre Dame be more competitive in either of those 2 scenarios than Tulane and James Madison? Absolutely. And in fact, they would have a shot at winning those games. Yep. But here we are. So I think just the way the things are set up, I think sometimes clouds the judgment, or kind of influences the judgment of the committees.
And I think that's part of the problem too, is like, if you were to take the automatic G5 bids or the top 5 conference winners out of the college football playoff, the G5s have nothing to play for. Like, if you start your season, you think you have the Cinderella shot at getting into the college football playoff, playing Oregon or playing Ole Miss, whoever it is. But then if you take that out, like, what are these teams playing for at the end of the year?
Yeah, exactly.
I love it. Before we let you go, I just got to tap into your college basketball insights. Who do you like? Give me an elevator pitch on your national champion, and why.
Right now, I think there are 3 teams that are head and shoulders above everybody else after the first couple of months of the season. I think Michigan has looked like an absolute world beater. I mean, they have just boat raced Gonzaga. I can't remember who they Villanova yesterday. They just took them to the woodshed. Where they were up by 30 last I saw. I don't know what the final was, but it was massive. So there's that. Duke has, everybody busts on Duke because they don't want to play true road games because they get all the whistles at Cameron, yada, yada, yada. But they've beaten Kansas. They beat Michigan State in East Lansing the other night. They've beaten Florida. They've beaten Texas. Cam Boozer is the real deal. They are a definitely contender. And then there's Arizona. And Arizona has beaten everybody. I mean, they've had a really tough schedule and have come through and won a lot of games. Now, there are other teams. I think, teams like BYU, UConn, there are a lot of good teams out there, but I think those three right now are clearly the class of the of college basketball.
What are your thoughts on Kentucky spending $22 million on their roster and then sucking?
I'm going to reserve judgment on Kentucky right now. No, seriously. I'm going to, because they've had three key players that have been out. Okay. They just got one of them back, and they have not been playing with a full roster. Now, if you're going to spend $22 million, the guys that are backing up should be pretty darn good too, and shouldn't be that big of a drop off. So there is that. Let's put it this way. There is room for concern here. But let's see what happens when the SEC season starts, because if they run the table and they go, I don't even know, they play 18 games or 20 games in the SEC. Say they go 17-3 in the SEC because they've got a full roster and everybody's back and they've evolved their roles and all. They'll be fine, and we won't even remember this. They'll be a 3 seed instead of a 1 seed. But right now, yes, they are in the danger zone. But I'm not ready to throw them on the scrap heap yet, because I don't know that we have seen Kentucky's full team together yet.
So I guess it is a logical take. I will entertain Evan's question. I'll fire it back to you. If they are effectively paying their players $22 million and a few key guys are out, you don't think that the other, we'll call it 16 or 17 million, can't put together a pretty good team right now? Is that, I mean, how good are these three key players that $22 million isn't undefeated at the moment?
Well, there is a possible scenario here to consider. Is that Mark Pope last year made chicken salad out of, maybe lemonade out of lemons. Okay. He didn't have a really as talented of a roster, but he got the most out of them and really put them together as a team. Is he the kind of guy who really has a hard time coaching a talented team? So, what I'm saying is, some guys are best when they really have to grind it, and when they just roll the ball out and let the talent take over, sometimes it doesn't work out quite as well. So possibly, that again, I'm not making any judgments on Kentucky yet, because I just haven't seen them together. Maybe the second tier of those guys aren't as good, and maybe they spent most of their money on the top tier guys. But again, we will find that out over the course of the next 3 months. But it doesn't look good right now.
Much is to be seen. Thank you so much for joining us. Brett Friedlander, folks. He is, again, just brilliant basketball and football mind, has years of experience, more so than Evan and I do. We've just been yapping, just for sport. You've been doing it professionally. You can see his stuff now at Hoops HQ. I'm sure we're going to bring you back on closer to March, just so I could ace my bracket and not look like an absolute jackass like I do every year in March.
Here's a tip on putting together your bracket though. Don't out coach yourself. Don't overthink it.
See, I'm gonna overthink that piece of advice. Mm-hmm. Is it like, so I guess I'm gonna just underthink myself?
Pick and choose your upsets, because if they don't hit, your bracket is screwed the first game.
Okay, that's just not helpful, because now I'm just gonna pick all favorites like last year and then the chalk bracket. Yeah,
and then everything gets blown up on the first Thursday.
Yeah. Thursday night, my bracket's in the shredder. Thank you for joining us, Brett. We appreciate your time.
Anytime, guys.
All right.